write about. Trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist. Am I worth anything or just discount? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
That was the great sounds of Watson with Outside on WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Prestige, with my partner in crime, Long Island Rays, Elm City, Maine, EZ Blues is in the building. Easy Blues, you're better with introductions more than me. Who do we have with us there behind the brand?
Ladies and gentlemen, I am going to tell you of a mythical being. A mythical being that I one day discovered while standing at the doors of the amazing State House. Through the annals of music, there became an act that had just a little bit of Primus, just a little bit of Violent Femmes, just a little bit of punk rock, with a whole hell of a lot of personality. And the banter between the three, chef's kiss. And from that moment jump-wise, I waited to get paid out of that night so I could buy their record. And it has been spun in my house ever since. So ladies and gentlemen, I want you to put your hands together, not if you're driving. If you're driving, keep your hands at 10 and 2. We don't want any accidents, okay? Haven't paid that liability insurance yet. The tax return has not come through, but it'll be there, I promise. So put your hands together mentally for the amazing Kimono Draggin. Gentlemen, thank you.
Cheers. Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you.
Hello. Hello.
Hello. So just so people get a little bit of a backstory and an understanding, you guys are a three-piece band, and I hate this question, but it's the only way for the people who have no clue how they can quantify things. What style of music do you guys consider yourself?
Yeah, we went over this a little while. I think we used to use a naughty term for our music style, but we won't use that because this is a radio station. But we've been calling ourselves prog punk or punk prog,
okay.
Somewhere in there. So I think I like what you said about Primus and a little punk going on there, a little Violent Femmes. Like we kind of live in that realm.
Yeah, and honestly, like from the moments you guys hit the stage, and that was all that I felt. And I felt it like I was like, okay, people, walk in, stop right here. I'm gonna check all your IDs right at one spot so I can continue to see what's going on stage. It was very distracting. It made me doing my job difficult, and I appreciated that. Plus, you guys shouted out the door guy, and that is like it warmed my heart, and I loved it. So thank you so much for that. But Sam's, all of that kind of stuff. How did this, like, what was the egg that birthed us, the Kimono Draggin?
Oh man, Joe. Yeah, it's really Joe Nolan behind me. Hello. So Joe. So here's the thing. Chris, Joe, and I have been in bands together in various iterations from the early to mid 90s on to today. And it was, hardcore bands like Council of Five Nations, like in the 90s. Joe and I were in like a 70s style glam band called Jupiter Suction a bit earlier than that. And then Leaves of Lothlorien, which was a distortionless hardcore band that was an homage to J.R.R. Tolkien back in the 90s as well. We called ourselves Elfcore. That was our style of music. And then these guys, too, have been, there was Kimono Draggin for a while, and then we took a bit of a break, and these guys were in a band called Space Orphans, and then another band called Joe Division. And then I want to say like a year and a half back or so, we rejoined Kimono.
Yeah. About a year and a half. Josh started becoming more available and was interested in kind of doing a reunion thing. So we were just plugging up in my garage and in the freezing cold. But it was fun. It was great. We hadn't been playing together, the three of us, for like 10, 11 years or something like that. So, yeah, but now we're just enjoying playing again and, not taking ourselves too seriously, but having a lot of fun writing new stuff.
Yep. We were going to let Joe say something, but I was afraid it might be hello again.
I was going to say, I look like Andy Reid is here today. Let everybody know. Someone told me at a gas station, you look just like, I thought Andy Reid was here.
Well, it's first of all, your names are amazing. Like, all of those names are some of the coolest names. Joe Division, I mean, come on. For the true music geek at heart, everyone just giggled so out loud, like their child's soul went hee hee. And it was awesome. And Elfcore, that's awesome. I appreciate all of that, and that is I think one of the things that I truly love and respect the most about you guys is you also understand that you can't take yourself too seriously.
Yeah.
And in not taking yourself so seriously in life, in reality, and in performance, you have the ability to cover harder topics. And you guys are able to do it with this incredible tongue-in-cheekness to you, because that is the basis of your guys' sound. And I think that is great. And I want to give you your flowers for that, because, I do feel that you need to be the spoonful of sugar and the medicine as well. And I think you guys accomplished that incredibly, incredibly, incredibly well. And sometimes even like undercover, which I think is always the best part. It reminds me of, kindergarten or first grade, where you went in and you colored and you had a great time, and then all of a sudden you learned stuff. You didn't even realize you learned it.
Yeah.
So I think that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Was that something you guys set out to do, or is your writing process just, let's make some spaghetti and throw something against the wall? What's
oh man.
So earlier on, I think Joe, a lot of everything was based around Joe was doing a lot of writing and playing solo, and he was starting to pull in different people to play music with him. Joe also is pretty much into a lot of old prog music and stuff. So we kind of got this idea to do this thing, and then it kind of turned into something else, because we're also fans of like B movie, kung fu movies and stuff like that. So we wanted to combine the two. And it just turned into this thing where the music was a part of it, but then we were also dressing up in these different identities and making these weird videos and stuff. So it just kind of became its own monster that I don't think we planned to create. But it was a lot of fun, like watching what it turned into. And then eventually we realized the shtick was a little too much, and we wanted to pull back and just focus on the music. But yeah, I can't say that we planned to do what we're doing. It just kind of happened.
Okay.
Yeah. So, so this is this is Joe the obstacle. We love it. It's we try to have as much fun and try to make one another laugh as much as possible. And I don't think there's anyone. I think each of us has our own sort of elements of comedy that we bring to the table. Joe is an absolute mastermind. It makes us laugh all the time, and so we'll write a song that seems kind of serious, kind of fun, but then we'll twist it up. We'll make it quirky, and then Joe will like come up, like we wrote a song, and it was like good hard rock, kind of heavy, and Joe just out of the blue, we were talking about various bands. We were talking about Whitesnake, and he said Wipe Snake. And I'm like, oh my gosh, wipe snake is kind of a gross term. I know I can say this on air. I did go to the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. That is the truth. But so it's like here's like sort of a serious, fun rockin' tune, but then we throw a silly title to it, because you have to be like, we have to like laugh at this silly stuff. Like, life is messed up right now for everybody, and if we can make anyone chuckle just a little bit, even if it's at us, awesome. That's cool.
That is absolutely so refreshing to hear. And it's one of those interesting interviews where I feel kind of like I'm interviewing myself, because that is the philosophy to move forward with. That is the way, I was going to say, you guys were ahead of the curve when you guys were first together 10, 11 years ago with kind of tapping into now what is considered like massively acceptable, even though it was like done in darkness 10, 15, 20 years ago of being part of the geek culture. You know, what we used to get made fun of for going over to our friend's house and playing, 10-hour D&D sessions. Now everyone does, and they do it through Zoom. So it's the hip hop thing to do. But it's not, so it's amazing to see you guys come from that to be here where now it's a lot more acceptable. And if it wasn't for guys like you or like the Chili Peppers or Violent Femmes, guys like us with Shame Penguin wouldn't be able to do what we do. I mean, going on stage with a 3-foot-tall stuffed penguin, just so that people, it also makes it easy because people don't, they don't really get into that. Oh, what style of music are they? We're just known as the band with the penguin. And we're okay with that because it's a lot easier to explain us being the band with the penguin than it is to explain whatever the heck we're playing. But it's because of you guys laying groundwork for that, and even on that smaller scale, I mean, coming up through the Rock Lottery, I know so many people that you guys know. In fact, one of the guys that played in a band for Rock Lottery with my guitar player was, I think, Joe's roommate, I want to say. So you guys practiced kind of like at that house for a while. And he was there. He was there that night at the State House and just kept coming up to me. He's like, "This is amazing. I feel like I'm home again." So thank you. Thank you for giving that to the scene and continuing to let that thrive in music so other bands can pick up on that and expand on that. It's just your guys' personality though, right? It's not like this wasn't a collective thing. This wasn't a mastermind plan. Or we're going to find out later at the end of the interview that Joe's actually been talking for the both of you the entire time with like his mental powers. And he's going to go on like
there's holes in the back of their jackets.
Yeah,
that's why he's behind us. Yeah,
my hands up their back of the
exactly on the back of their jackets. But no, look, I almost expect like at the end of this interview there to be like an 8-minute Silent Bob speech coming from Joe in the background. To be real, and I'm for it, man. I am 100% for it. But yeah, it's a natural thing for you guys. It's not, because I talked with you guys after the show, and we got to, talk about music, but then we also talked about Star Wars and we talked about toys and we talked about whiskey. This is who you guys are. And there are so many acts that are coming up that are so focused on being that next big thing or so focused on being what they are trying to accomplish that's on the radio right now. Can you speak to how important it really is for the creative process to be genuine to who you are?
I think that's the number one thing. Like we understand fully that we are not everyone's cup of tea. In fact, we are we're mostly not, what I'm trying to say? Like we're not for everybody. Our music is weird and it's quirky. And I think, I wouldn't go so far as to compare us to a Captain Beefheart or a Frank Zappa or anything like that. But it's clear a lot of the people who are into bands like that or musicians like that are musicians themselves. And I think that we may appeal more to musicians who have an understanding of how music works. And they'll say, geez, these guys are doing something that's weird. That shouldn't work, but it worked. That's kind of cool, And I think, and for us, we're here to, I mean, Chris or Joe, if you want to chime in, please. But I think we're here to just make the music that makes us happy. And I don't think it necessarily lines up with a lot of stuff we listen to. It just makes us happy. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, to add on to what Josh is saying and just to speak to the creative process in general, my personal opinion of it is that I don't think any artist out there is creating something that's absolutely new. There's no such thing because everything has been done to some level or some aspect of it, throughout history. And everyone is doing is really taking what they're inspired by and turning it into something new and something different. So, that's the best advice I could give to new artists is, don't try to mimic something, but if there's things that you like about things, definitely keep that in your, in your heart, in your mind when you're creating, and you'll make something different. You'll make something unique.
Yeah. I just try to keep myself busy doing things.
Here's the thing.
That's really good.
Overthink,
But
I live in a van down by the river,
so
my brother told me, he goes, I know it, Joe. You're gonna be ended up homeless.
but like
only Joe could laugh at something like that.
Oh, I'm laughing too. I've heard the same thing. So I'm just gonna be real with you.
yeah, but it's Joe. Usually the way it works is Joe will come at us with some guitar part, and we will spend the first half hour just trying to figure out what the heck he's playing, because it's off the wall, it's off the charts.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes, he'll come to it with an idea in mind, and then I may change it up because I like to go against him a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe at first he's not so happy about that. Or now, see, there it is. He just shook his head. No. And but I think everybody comes to the song with their own idea of what that could look like. But Joe's the seed. Like he brings the real ideas to it, and then we just try to, massage it and get it to where we think it should, finally live.
Mm-hmm.
What I think is interesting about the way Joe writes something, he's got it in his head a certain way. But take, for instance, like, what's a song that we've played in every band? Probably Here Comes the Fuzz or Song for Brian or something like that. So Joe wrote this song probably before we were even playing in a band together, and it was just a sing. Then Kimono Draggin came. Josh put his spice on it. I put my spice on it. And then Space Orphans might have played it. And it sounds totally different because you have different people bouncing off of what Joe's putting out. So it becomes a different thing, 3 different ways. So that's kind of how I kind of see Joe's writing. Depending on who's playing with him, it could kind of turn into various things.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So we're it's always open, everybody brings their own little bits to the table, and then the song almost becomes anew,
No, definitely. And I think it's incredible. I love the fact that you talked about Frank Zappa, because the minute you guys started talking about that, and you almost gave a quote for quote, one of my favorite Zappa quotes out there is, all original music has already been done by guys in powdered wigs. So just, do you. So that, or also, Kevin Smith had said it as well. All the stories have already been told. The only thing original about it is your point of view. So tell your story. And that's exactly what you guys are doing. And I thank you for that, because it makes it easier for the other bands to go through. It is extremely difficult to be a pioneer, especially in an entertainment business, when you have big radio to push a certain thing, and we become creatures of ritual and habit. So we're only listening then to those particular stations, and a lot of the sound is forced into us. I say it all the time. If YouTube was out in the 90s, more people would love and respect Mother Love Bone than Nirvana. That's just how I feel. Not both bands did phenomenal, but without Mother Love Bone, I don't think Nirvana would have the sound that they have. And for those that really want to hear something similar to that, Soundgarden is amazing. But go and listen to, and rest in peace, Mark, but go and listen to Screaming Trees, and listen to the record that Chris Cornell helped produce. You're hearing those melodies with a lot more pain. So it's tough. How do you guys maintain the fun And like you guys genuinely like each other. You guys, it's great to watch.
That's debatable.
And I know that. Well, exactly. So that's what I want to get into because you kind of teased it before, as per like you were adding. I'll add a little bit of this, and Joe doesn't necessarily like that at that point in time because this happens, and it happens in bands all the time. It even happens like with Shane Penguin. There's at practice when we're writing something. If John and Tristan, the bass and guitarist, are like in that moment where they're talking about something and they're talking about like the different time signature and how things are supposed to go. Kenny and I we go for a walk, and then about half hour later we come back in, and they've come up with this mastermind type of thing. Is it that same type of process? Do you guys like, or I know that Red Hot Chili Peppers, they have the face off where if they don't know where they're going to go with a particular song.
Easy. I know where I'm going to go. I'm going to go to WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven, myself, Prestige, and my partner in crime, Long Island Raised, Elm City made, EZ BlueZ is in the building and in motion. Go ahead, sir. I love the way you're flowing with that.
So, like Red Hot Chili Peppers, they have what's called the face-off, and this is something that they learned under Rick Rubin, where two members will stand face-to-face with each other and give each other a stare down, and then go off into two separate rooms, and they have 15 minutes to come up with that idea for the part, and they have to play it for everyone to choose. Is that your guys' process, or is it like paper, scissors, rock?
It's more like we just try to make something out of what Joe brings to the table, and it either works or it doesn't. Like we wrote a song in like one practice a couple weeks back
in an hour,
but then there was another song that took us, and we're still working on it, like 3 weeks of trying to get it to work. And after that point, it's like it either works or it doesn't, and we'll just toss it. But we don't structure it where we feel like we have to do something, or like, Josh, you really need to do something with this part, or Joe, you really need to do something with this part. It's more of like, is this naturally feeling right to play or for somebody to hear it? So it's more of just kind of playing it through to see where it goes.
They try to like not play to me. Sometimes they play that we like bounce, have it be like a almost like a polyrhythm or like a contra rhythm to like and try to make it more interesting than regular like straightforward rock. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Work on their parts and stuff. Like Josh should work on his bass parts for a while and stuff, and then everybody will try to make their part sync up in the way they like and stuff. So they're comfortable with it and stuff, and they want to play it out and stuff.
Yeah, and I think Joe will come to a practice with a part, and then say, okay, let's rock that out for a little bit, and then what else do you have going on? And then I'll give us 2 or 3 or 4 other parts, and then I think from a construction standpoint or writing standpoint, as far as the bass, like bass music goes, not bass, but you know what I mean, bass music, it's all Joe. But then I kind of, I'll try to arrange it in a way that sounds good to me. And then I just hope that these guys agree that arrangement works. And like Chris had said, we've been working on this new song that we're like, okay, here's how it goes. It's build up, groove, fast, third part, build up, fast, third part, fast, build up, A-team, fake out, fast. And like to my head, that makes sense. And I don't even have to think about the parts. I'm just like, this is how it goes. Meanwhile, these guys, and this is what Chris was saying, we've been spending the past 3 to 4 weeks just trying to get that structure down and trying to remember where the changes are. And I'm still at the point where I'm like, as we're playing, and I'll go into the mic and I'll say fast, or third part, or whatever. And like, so there's never like points like you had said, Easy, where you have to walk out and just sort of like cool down or let them figure it out and then come back. Like there's, I wouldn't even say there's frustration, but it's just like, because we do try to get a little proggy, sometimes it's not always easy to just nail it the first time. But then like Chris had said, and by the way, that song is called Fast Sandwich. And then this other song, that's called Hannah's Barbiturates, a play on Hanna-Barbera. It was just like in an hour and we nailed it. And I would argue that that song has just as many sort of odd parts that you jump in and out of for various reasons, but that one clicked much faster than this one is for, whatever that reason may be.
No, I love it. I hope people right now are pulling over to the side of the road and taking out that pen and taking notes, because it's so important, especially from the songwriter aspect of it, because that's what we have. Like, no matter what, you go in there with the song, and then from there you build up so you can get to the stage aspect. And I definitely want to talk about how the incredible energy y'all hold on the stage when you're rocking and rolling. But I really like what we're getting into with the songwriting aspect here. And, it is so true that you need to be able to let everything breathe. And there are just some songs, it's their time. Like, for everyone at home, not every song is going to be written in an hour. Some songs might take 3 or 4 years to finish, to have right. It is a creative process, no matter what. Yes, the industry tells you that it is a monetary process. I don't know about that because no one pays anyway. But the industry tells you it's a monetary process, but it's still a creative process. And you need to respect that, because the difference between an okay, a good, and a great song is letting it cook all the way through. That turkey on Thanksgiving, or that vegan turkey, whatever they call it, tofurkey, is that what's going on?
Tofurkey, yeah.
Tofurkey, thank you. Is great. When cooked for the right amount of time, and that thing pops perfectly. But it's still as good if it didn't pop. It's still good if it didn't pop all the way through. But it's not good. I guess it is for tofurkey, because you don't have to worry about it killing you. But if it's not good, if it's taken out of the oven too soon for a turkey, it could kill you. And it really is that same way in the creative process, because if you force it, it's not going to be good, and it's going to be frustrating, and you're gonna not like it. I mean, we do it. We did it with the song 500 million Idiot Boxes, where we, it's a really catchy little pop ditty. So of course I automatically hated it. I don't like the song, didn't want the song, hate the song. Now, 3 years later, that we're finally playing it to the way it was supposed to be played, it's one of my favorite songs, and by far my favorite song to do live, because you give the audience something to sing along to. And, no matter if it's 10 people in the place or the place is packed out, just having them clap along and singing back, and you get this play aspect with the audience. It's one of the coolest things out there. Now that we've talked about the songwriting process, let's transition completely into the live performance process of our show. Not that you're going to play anything or anything like that, but do you guys, as I like to say, train as you fight? Like, when you guys are practicing for a show, do you run your set from open to close? Put in that time in there to banter with the crowd. Been like, hey, the guitar string might break on this one, so let's give ourselves like 5 minutes. Or are you guys just like, you show up and be like, so what songs do you guys want to play tonight? Which type of performance guys are you?
So let me introduce you to someone named Joe Nolan. So we come up with a set, and I'm like I'm the one that's always driving to, like, all right, let's pretend it's a set. Let's rock through the songs. Now, and it's like, if there's talking, that's fine, because there is banter, and there's going to be ridiculous banter. But I'm like, okay, we've got 45 minutes to play these 9-10 songs or whatever it is. Let's just rock through it, and we'll get through the first 2, and then a song comes on where Joe starts it, and then he's got an awesome story to tell us, and we have to like go through his 5-minute story. And then I would say, okay, let's go through that other song. And then Joe starts with another story. And so, like, and I'm not picking on you, Joe.
No, I try not. Sometimes I have to pull back and talk in the concert,
Yeah. So we, so that's always the aim. And and I would say it almost never works that we can like play a practice perfectly like the way that it should be live. But then when we do play live, even if we muck up the song in a practice and aren't feeling good, somehow I feel like we really rise to the challenge, and we start playing even better than we do in practice. And it could be, I mean, for me, it's simply because people are looking at me. I'm like, oh, geez, Louise. Like,
play off the energy of the crowd and how they're, hearing us and seeing us, and it gives us kind of a boost, it makes us more lively and
People are
animated.
really screaming at the last show, and it was kind of off-putting because I was like, oh my God, they're screaming. And then they wanted autographs. And it was kind of weird. It was like, and they wanted me to autograph their arm and stuff with a pen. And I'm like, don't you want me to autograph a record or something, like all nice and stuff? And they're like, no, man. They're like, they're all like trash and stuff. And I won't talk to them, you know what I mean? But it's a bar and stuff,
But yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is, though, even when we're practicing, like, I know, like, you'll watch a band and they'll have a bit of a stage act. And sometimes it's really clear that it's stage act, and that's not a bad thing. Like, I think stage acts are cool, and it's fun to watch. And like I remember the first concert I was ever at was in, no, it wasn't Whitesnake. It was in the early 80s, and it was Kenny Rogers. It was Kenny Rogers in Bridgeport. And my grandparents were like, I want to see, we're going to take you to Kenny Rogers. Meanwhile, I was like listening to Black Sabbath and the Dead Kennedys in the early 80s. And I was like, oh, I don't want to see that. By the end of the show, he put on such a great performance. I was waving my jacket in the air saying, Kenny. But anyway, because he had a great like stage presence for us. I mean, at least, no, I would say for all three of us, like because he was a gambler. No, but I think when we play in practice, it's the same energy practice wise that it is live, and the way we move around during some songs or not during other songs or whatever, it's the same in our practice space as it is on the stage. I mean, I personally try to lose everything within my mind. I don't want to think at all. I just want to go by muscle memory. And granted, I have to think because sometimes I'm like, okay, guys, this is the next part, but and that's the idea. So we try to just give the energy that we have in a practice that we, and just try to deliver that on the stage as well.
No, that's, I think, one of the most important things. And I love many things in which you just talked about. First of all, I love the fact that your grandparents took a gamble that you would love Kenny Rogers, and you did.
They knew when to hold him. They knew when to fold him.
It's true.
His grandfather had a six-pack.
Well done, six-pack.
I
saw it at the movies, man.
And for all those who used to grow up on Mad TV, Kenny Rogers is a whole nother thing. Angry Kenny Rogers, I'll kill you all.
At the Roasters, Kenny Rogers Roasters.
At the Kenny Rogers Roasters, which I actually worked at for like a week.
Nice.
Yes, it was amazing. The place later became a Starbucks, so we could talk about that in a whole nother interview. But
we'll talk about a latte. I'm looking at my head in the light.
Chris should have brought his snare and crash. This is an opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. The main thing that I really want to talk about, and I want to talk about this actually for the audience that is listening. When you go to a live show, what they just talked about, that energy and getting that energy from the audience, it really is like, it costs nothing. You know what I mean? It costs absolutely nothing. You're there already in the spot. That energy is so important to the people up on stage. It's the difference between playing a phenomenally amazing show that you'll never forget and like a show where you literally felt like you were throwing, taking a sledgehammer to a wall for 45 minutes.
Yep.
And it has nothing to do with the playing of anything other than maybe the environment of the room. But seriously, for those that are listening at home, you know, please give us a little bit of energy back, and feel free to afterwards tell any artist, hey, you know, you lost me for you know, I have no problem if an audience member comes up to me and is like, yo, that was great, but you lost me there. Like, what the heck was going on? You know, I know that I need to go back and I need to retool. I need to get better. I need to grow. Constructive criticism is amazing. And hey, drunken criticism works too. It's a little bit more honest than constructive criticism, but I'm probably not going to take it as well. You know, but I'll still respect it. You know, are there any tricks you guys do, or is it just, again, just the three of you having as much fun as humanly possible and enjoying playing together that helps you to kind of spark the energy of the audience?
I think, well, I mean, if I'm speaking for all of us, I think we have to give something to get something also. And it's not just playing the music, it's in between the songs. It's the things you're saying. It's the, you know, kind of lightening up the situation, trying to get people to talk. And I've noticed that when we don't do that, we won't get, you know, you'll just have shoegazing people in the crowd just standing there like, okay, what, you know, you're going to play another song. But when you start talking, like Joe, for instance, when he called you out and said, hey, doorman, you know, like it got you to, you know, like come and talk to us. And now here we are doing an interview. So, I mean, what you put out, you get back. I guess that's,
I got a free Shirley Temple at the bar too from the barmaid, the lady.
There you go.
Caitlin. Yeah, Caitlin was her name.
Yeah.
I remember the names.
Yeah.
Fans for life.
Caitlin is awesome, by the way.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is.
Yeah. Caitlin is awesome, by the way. That's I love her to death. She's actually the reason that I wound up starting to do the door gig there. She's like, hey, come on through. I was like, I got you. And it's so funny because that's another person that is known through the Rock Lottery. Do you guys know of the Rock Lottery? Have you guys participated in the Rock Lottery? And can we see you guys maybe in this year's coming Rock Lottery?
I went to the performance at the, can I say the State House? I went to the show there, and then I went. I saw it. I never performed. My landlord runs it with Nancy. Bill,
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know whose names I could say and whose names I can't say.
You can say anyone's names. You can say anyone's names as long as, you know, they're not cuss words.
Okay.
Pretty much.
yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry.
So Bill, the guy who does the Rock Lottery, he used to do this thing called Idiot Village back in the day. So, you know, and Joe is also connected with Bill from Dr. Dark and other bands. So he's kind of been a mainstay around our, like, kind of an aura around our band, like since we've started, kind of.
It did a
Our first show was Idiot Village,
Yeah,
actually,
Idiot
when
Village,
we had
2003.
kung fu outfits and we were playing outside of the theater over
I
there.
played at the first one too, outside on the. It's behind the Schubert Theater over there.
Yeah. So we've done Idiot Village, and we've done that a few times. But I mean, if he's doing Rock Lottery again in 2022, you know, now that we're back together after this sort of long hiatus that we took, we definitely are into doing that. You know, I mean, we really, with everything opening up and COVID, you know, knock on every bit of wood around me, you know, hopefully going away in some way, shape, or form. Like, just being out in front of people again, it's like, it's one of the things that really drives us, just playing music for people.
Yeah, it'd be cool. We could play outside and stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a lot of things we couldn't. There's a lot of things we couldn't do because we were in Joy Division. We had 6 shows and they all got canceled from COVID, you know, and stuff. And initially, nobody wanted to go to the show because of COVID. And then the girl that booked it said she didn't want to not cancel the show. But then I said I don't think anybody's going to go because of COVID. And then the night before, they finally canceled. So I was like, oh, thank God. Because no one would have went. It was right when it first hit in March. 2020 or so.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting because I was actually at it's one of those things you remember the day, right? On the 14th of March, I was at like one of the last shows. Passing Strange had a CD release party at the Cellar. And to see everybody first starting wearing the masks, and the Cellar is amazing, has been amazing with it, where they actually had somebody walk through and like cleaning wipe everything down. Like every 20 minutes, they were doing anything that anyone could have touched, you know. But it was definitely kind of almost mind shattering. And I'm glad I went out that night, because I'm glad I had that experience to hold on to for all of that time that it couldn't happen. And then, you know, trying to figure out what you're going to do from that point, you know, starting to live stream from like practice spaces just to try to get your music out there. You know, releasing singles through your distro kids, or if you get picked up on different type of distribution, then trying to figure out how to make those campaigns go and grow in different directions. It kind of opened up a whole new avenue for musicians. But it also, you know, you guys, especially energy wise, and you can tell that you guys are a live band, because it is the most amount of fun. You could just see the enjoyment that just comes out of your pores, you know, like the whiskey, when done correctly. You know, was that the thing that really shook it up, that made you guys be like, let's do this. Let's do
this on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Prestige, and my partner in crime, Long Island Rays, Elm City made, EZ BlueZ is in the building. Kimono Draggin, not Dragon, Draggin is on behind the brand. I'm happy to smile. Let's continue the interview. Go ahead, EZ BlueZ.
Well, what was that, you know, to quote, you know, the incredible Blues Brothers, was that when you guys were on the mission for God to put the band back together, you know, or was this something that was going to happen anyway?
Yeah, I think so. So the fact of the matter is, the band breaking up, you know, 11, 12 years ago had everything to do with me, because I'm a traveling salesman by trade, and I started a whiskey business, and you know, wife and 2 kids and a new business and traveling. And my wife was like, "You're going to destroy yourself. You've got to figure something out." And I, at that time, unfortunately it was music, because I was desperate to get this whiskey business going. And then that went on for, you know, 10 and a half years. And then COVID hit, and then my traveling just stopped. And then Zoom took over, and my job also changed a little bit, where I knew I wouldn't be traveling nearly as much as I had been before. And also my kids were older too, and more self-sufficient. And I just found, wait a second, I have all this free time in my life, which, you know, I'd love to just figure out how to put music back, because if I'm being very honest, there was a massive hole in my life not playing music. It is some people have a therapist they talk to. I have a bass guitar that I pick up and play with these guys. And after 12 years, I just needed that. And I was personally felt so lucky that when I said, "Hey guys, you know, let's get the band back together," and we put on our fedoras, and they were like, "Yeah, okay." And you know, meanwhile, I felt bad. But there you go. Oh, he's got the fedora. Easy's got the fedora. Yeah. So it was just that, you know, life had changed for me, which allowed this band to happen again.
That's awesome. That is so incredible. And congratulations on, you know, starting another type of business that we'll definitely have you on to talk about on a different aspect, because that's very interesting, especially since, you know, we both happen to like whiskey, especially with peanut butter. But we'll talk about that in another day. Whew, that stuff creeps up on you. You're like, ooh. Then all of a sudden, half the bottle's gone,
and all of a sudden it's Tuesday. Yep. There you go.
Well done.
Tap the bottle and twist the cap, right?
Yeah.
I almost got a 40 last night. I ended up getting the Fosters. I got 2 Foster cans.
Yeah, that's beer. Yeah.
That's true. It's true. Unless you go to Australia, because they're like, that's water.
Yeah. Sorry.
It is what it is. It's amazing. We are starting to wind down just a little bit, you know, as Prestige loves to say, the Apollo curtain is starting to get pulled down, and I want to give you guys, and there's three of you, so I want to give you all the proper amount of time to give our audience all the ways they can get in touch with you, any type of social media stuff, what you've got going on in the future, you know, what the hotline is for the tarot card readings. Like, let us know how we can get further invested with Kimono Draggin.
Chris, do you want to take this one?
Sure. Yeah. So the usual social channels for us are Facebook and Instagram. We're at Kimono Draggin, and it's DRAGGIN, as mentioned previously. And we also have kimonomusic.com, which is our website. And future things that are coming up, we're going to be filming with ISSL, Scott Moore, and we're going to be recording a couple live songs, which we're currently creating a video for. So look out for that sometime, maybe in April or May. But yeah, I mean, and you know, for now, that's kind of what we have going on.
Looking for shows.
Yeah, we're trying to brush up. We're trying to brush up our songs. You know, like Chris had said, record a couple of them, record a video or film a video as well. We have another album's worth of music right now, which is cool, and yeah, just trying to get out there and emailing as many venues as possible, and just try to get a solid roster of shows coming up for the summer. So yeah, that's really what we got going on right now.
Well, one thing that I definitely will, you know, coming out of this, we've had incredible people on here. We've actually had Ant Cashlin. He runs TLR or TLR Records, and they're always putting together these incredible showcases. You guys will fit amazingly with the lineup, so definitely want to connect you through there.
Awesome.
Obviously, we're both pretty well connected with the Cellar. It's one of our favorite venues. Also, the best damn chicken sandwich you're ever going to have is the Huggy Bear, and I will fight people that tell me different. It's just the way that it goes. So definitely want to hook you up with Eric at the Cellar as well, you know, because I feel like, you know, you guys need to be playing as much as humanly possible, and I truly look forward to, you know, sharing a bill, having the Kimono Draggin and the Shame Penguin on a bill together. It just sounds like a really amazing Wu-Tang style martial arts split. I think, you know, Kimono Draggin versus Shame Penguin, fight. It should be fun. Exactly. So what?
Should we put our karate suits back on, or?
Dude, I'm down. Dude, I will put my own on. I'm good to go. But no, I can't actually wear mine. It's a judo gi, and I move around too much on stage. I will probably die. I will just overheat like a bad engine and just seize up. So I won't wear mine. But I might wear my Big Trouble in Little Chinatown tank top.
Yes.
It could happen. Or my Show Enough tank top, because, you know,
Show Enough.
Oh, exactly.
So good. Oh, I love it.
So the last bit though, and usually Prestige usually asks this, but I'm gonna field this one. What advice do you have for those up and coming musicians?
Oh man, yeah, I there was something easy that you had said before about people kind of write music that, you know, they think would capture, you know, radio attention. And I'm not going to necessarily knock that. Like, I see that, especially if they have talent and that's what they want to do. That's, you know, it's like in the whiskey business when people say, should I pour this? Should I drink this with ice? It's, you bought it. Like, do whatever you want with it. Like, if you want to do that, that's fine. But I think the music industry in general has unfortunately, as far as big music has gone, they're only signing people that are young and pretty and write brainless music. And wouldn't it be nice if we allowed people who weren't so pretty and maybe not so young to put out good music, like Joe Nolan here, but the fact of the matter is that there's so much great music out there. And I think the modern music industry has just gotten super lazy. I really like something Frank Zappa said years ago, or it was just a bunch of old guys who knew nothing about music and decided to give these young crazy people a chance because the young crazy people were doing what the young crazy people were doing. Like, let them figure it out. Let them dictate what people are going to be into. And maybe we'd have some more interesting music happening. The interesting music's out there, but its route to your ears is not direct at all.
Agreed.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's great advice. I love it. Prestige, you got anything to say, brother?
All I gotta say is thank you guys for being on. Myself, Prestige, and my partner in crime, Long Island Rays, Elm City Made, Easy, BlueZ in the building, and this has been Behind the Brand.